Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, as we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today in a late night episode. Yeah. Will I talk about Lorelei and Relay's eyes today, or will I do it tomorrow? I'll do it today. I was just sort of debating it, going about, I'll probably forget about it if I don't otherwise, because I've probably forgotten about a lot of stream games, which I never end up speaking about. I don't know if I ever spoke up about Koira in the end, but maybe I should do that. But anyway, good evening everyone. Right, I'm here with a late night broadcast. I hope I can make it through this. Right now in Fawnhallow, it should be 12:09 AM on what should be Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. But yeah, if you could tell by today's title, I'm going to be talking about Lorelei and Relay's Eyes, which is a game I have finished playing. Not all the episodes have been uploaded yet onto YouTube. I think the last one will be next week at some point. Yeah, I'm just going to sort of talk about my thoughts about Lorelei and Relay's Eyes. I will warn you, I suppose, before any spoilers, and probably it's probably a game to go, it's reasonably good to go in blind with. It is a puzzle game after all. And it's not a puzzle game in the same way of, like, you know, Barbara's You. So it's hard to spoil. I mean, it's easy to spoil Lorelei and Relay's Eyes compared to something like Barbara's You, or a much more traditional puzzle game. Because in Lorelei and Relay's Eyes, I would say that most of its puzzles are very sort of exploration-y, kind of. I like them to like escape room puzzles rather than like a Sudoku book puzzle, if that makes sense. And what I mean by what I should start with saying overall, what I think about the game. I liked the game. I actually think that there's quite a few things which, interestingly, for a puzzle game, does quite well. One is, I think the story is pretty good. And the vibes, like, this is a strange one, the atmosphere in the game is actually fantastic. It's actually probably the strongest part of the game, in my eyes, which is a really weird thing to say, I think, for a puzzle game, but honestly, it's absolutely, like, slightly, like, kind of eccentric, very odd, mystical, but also a very sort of, like, noir aesthetic. Mysterious vibes are just fantastic. It's pretty unique, I think. I can't think of many other games like that, let alone puzzle games, and it really helps sell into a sort of like investigative vibe that you're trying to do throughout Lorelei and Relay's Eyes. So yeah, overall I liked it. Its puzzles were, I think it has a lot of it has a decent amount of like really nice puzzles. I think the majority of the puzzles are fine. Most of them being very exploratory based, but it's sort of just like, it's not really so much the puzzle which is challenging, it's more like finding the puzzle. Or the way I describe it is that the game is filled with like hundreds of locks, and there are just hundreds of keys which you just need to find. The difficult part is not being like, how is this a key or how is this a lock? It's more like finding the key and then putting it into a lock. So what I would say though is that for a traditional puzzle game, it definitely leans Wolfgang. It definitely leans very easy in my eyes. I can't think of many times where the game like particularly stumped me, where I was like, I don't know how to solve this puzzle. Most of the time, when it was the case where I was like, I don't know how to solve this puzzle, is because I literally did not have the information to solve a puzzle. As I say, it's very exploration based. But once you find the key, I think most of the time it's very, very direct, like how to solve a puzzle. Like, I'm trying to think of times where it did stump me. One I can think of is because I typed something in wrong. And another time was, there was a connection I just didn't make. And then, I think another time I can think of, I counted wrong. Like, I knew what the puzzle was and how to solve it, I just inputted it in. And I didn't understand how to input it in properly. And was off by one, essentially. Which is not me taking a shot at the game, but I think it's just kind of different. To like, I wouldn't go into it expecting like. It's interesting because I feel like I've heard people compare this game to Blueprints. I don't really think it's that similar to Blueprints, to be honest. Blueprints is kind of like the puzzle, like. I can see why you get compared together, because I can see you have the same sort of heart where it's like an explorationary based puzzle game, except for Lorelei leans more, sort of like pulls the lever in the direction of exploration and story, while Blueprints pulls it in the direction of lore and puzzles, I suppose. Because Blueprints also has escape room like puzzles in my mind. But to me, Blueprints' puzzles are much more like you're not given a lot of information. That's on you to like reason out how to put everything together or how to enact something to happen. Or Lorelei's is much more about the discovery. It's about actually finding a thing. What I mean to say is that, yeah, it's basically most of the puzzles in the game that I can think of are basically, here's like something you need to get through, and there is, you just need to find the key to do it. Essentially, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to be honest. It just more so is the fact that, I don't know why running around in Animal Crossing helps me sort of think through what I'm saying in this regard. It's more so that the difficult part is finding where the key is, or remembering where this key should be used, I think. But I think Lorelei has some very interesting sort of puzzles. And yeah, its lore, I think, its story is pretty cool. So yeah, what would I, so that's what I would say is not like bad about the game. It's more like your mileage may vary with a game, depending on what you're looking for in a game. Because if you're like hot off the presses of like Vabrozu or Snakebird or Braid or something, you're like, I want more like that. I want more like challenging puzzle thoughts and stuff like that. I would not say Lorelei would continue that process. But if you're fresh off a Witness, off Blueprints maybe, off, I'm not sure, another very exploratory based puzzle, like that Resident Evil like game which was released or something, which is not Resident Evil but has like PS1 reminiscent era graphics. I cannot remember what it's called. And then I think you probably would like Lorelei. Like that this would be more what you're looking at. And someone who commented, I think it was Cyborg, a regular commenter on the puzzle series of this channel, basically said the way that he had it described is basically Resident Evil if it had more of a focus on puzzle rather than horror. And then hearing that description, I was like, it clicked in my mind. I was like, yes, this is exactly what this game is. It's basically, its puzzles are slightly harder than what I think you would find in like an adventure game, which has puzzle elements in it. And it tones down the adventure parts, but in more of a puzzle element, which you might be like, that sounds like a shot across the bow, and it genuinely is not. I think it actually does work pretty well, but I think going into it, my understanding going into it was like, this is like The Witness, this is like really hardcore puzzle solving, when it's not, in my opinion. That doesn't mean the puzzles are bad, or it wasn't fun, or I didn't challenge me at some certain points. It's just a different sort of challenge, in my opinion. And I think if you go into that with that sort of right mindset, I think you go in with the correct expectations of the game, in my opinion, rather than my expectations where I was just kind of like, I'm not really sure what's going on in this game. It kind of feels like there are puzzles here, but I don't know how to do most of these puzzles. Which ended up being true for a large majority of the game. But yeah, I think from now on, I'm going to say all bets are off when it comes to spoilers. I'll try and start with small spoilers before going into big spoilers, but so I guess small spoilers territory now. I think... Oh no, actually, I was going to say one other thing. What do I think is actively bad about this game? Its control scheme is strange, I think. It has some very strange choices here and there for like not user experience friendly choices in my opinion. Like it has a very, very simplistic control scheme. You move around with D-pad, joystick, etc. Then everything else is done with one button, Baden Wonderland style or Wonderworld style. Which I think is insane. I think I'm impressed by the simplicity of it and how much of a puzzle game you can get out of a simplistic control scheme, but I genuinely think the game would have felt so much better if it just had a simple cancel button. Just a simple button to press to be like, oh, I didn't actually mean to click this, get out of here. Especially because the thing I found very often was like, I know where a piece of... Another amazing thing this game has is the perfect recall thing. I can't remember what it's called, but the memories thing, where the character you play has perfect recollection of everything. So when you get a clue, it's saved into your databank. You don't have to take your own screenshots like you do in Blueprints. That is an amazing feature. That's incredible for any exploration-based puzzle game. And you might be like, oh, does that ever lead to a situation where you're like, oh, now I know what the puzzle's going to be because they saved it? I'm like, no, it saves like literally everything. But it leads to really annoying situations where it's like, I know, oh, well, I see a lock essentially in the game, a puzzle, and I'm like, oh, I know where the key is. I don't remember what the key is off the top of my head, but I know where to find it. And then having to navigate one of the longest menus, I suppose, like a very annoying menu system. Clicking, no, you have to click into exact. Well, for one, I have to remember what category it's in, find the category, scroll through the entire thing, where it does its best to basically try and name it something sensible, but depends, and find it, and then scroll through that entire clue to try and find your clue, and then you had to manually go back and back out of every single thing rather than just clicking cancel. You had to actually navigate your cursor to the the X out button each time, which I think is just genuinely just an insane choice. I'm not sure why necessarily it's done. I'm sure there's some sort of game design reason, which is totally fair. That's what the developer wanted, absolutely. I'm just saying from my experience playing it, was really like, I didn't get it. I straight up still don't get it, really. Maybe it's to try and encourage people to sort of like look through their clues, but I think it's like 99% of the time I was just being frustrated. I was like, why can't I just cancel out this immediately? And then 1% of the time I stumbled across a clue being like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But I will say, credit where credit is due. Its like logging system is fantastic. It logs not only all the clues you find, it also logs things, open questions that you have along the way, being like, every time you interact with a door and it's locked and you fail to open it, it goes like, oh, put it down into the quest log, basically, try and open this door. Brilliant, absolutely wonderful, amazing user experience decision. So it's very weird that there are those two very contrasting user experience decisions, I think, in this game, in my opinion, but who knows. That's a major thing. I think my controls feel a bit weird, but this one I can definitely get a bit more because it's trying to evoke that sort of like Resident Evil feeling when it has tank controls in certain aspects of a game. I'm not very used to tank controls. I didn't actually really grow up with sort of games, unfortunately. Like I was just a bit too young, but I am familiar with them. But yeah, there's also like a minor, like there's a lot of decisions in the game which I think I'm more neutral on rather than negative. That's the only one I'm strictly negative on, because I'm just like, I don't understand it, why. But there's a lot more things I'm neutral on. Another one being like, as spoilers, later in the game, times when you can fail the game. For what's been like, there's been no fail states in the game so far. You can die in the game and it gives you a game over and you have to reload from your later save. I'm not sure why. Again, like, I guess it's to introduce stakes, but I think it's also maybe because at that point, I was also thinking of it as like a puzzle game. I'm like, this seems like counterproductive to like what a puzzle game is. But to be fair, the times when it does happen, sometimes can be kind of good, but I also think it's sort of like I don't know, what the point of mistakes if like all it does is it encourages you to save before literally you do anything. Because it doesn't reset you back that far. It's not like a Souls-like game or something where you don't know how to backtrack, you have to fight the boss again while also reclaiming the souls you lost. All it basically meant was like, if I died, which I think the only time I can remember dying is when I accidentally clicked the wrong answer and also would have got the answer wrong anyway. And then literally it just sent me back about 0%, and I was like, okay. I guess there has to be consequences for it getting wrong, but I don't like all bets off now for spoilers. But the time I died was when the maze heads came around. I died on one of the scripts. I don't know why they couldn't have just been like, okay, you just failed the challenge and you have to do it again, because that's essentially what happens when you get it wrong anyway. It's just like, now there's like a cooldown before the maze person can spawn again. I kind of get it more of a quiz club because I think the vibes of it. But this is the thing, right? This is why I'm more neutral on it, is because I think it works well with the vibes. But if I strip away the vibes, I'm just kind of like, it feels really weird from a gameplay perspective, in my opinion. But I think it works a bit better in the quiz club because, all bets off spoilers now, just to warn you. The questions I thought were really interesting in the game were one of the quiz clubs where it's like, how well have you been paying attention to your surroundings, your things, the clues you picked up, essentially. Sure, you picked up the key to unlock the lock, but did you pay attention to the decoration of the key? What colour was the key, essentially, is what the quiz club sort of questions were, and I was like, that's actually kind of cool. And I think it actually has a great payoff at the very end, because that seems like basically a microcosm of what the final test is, which is basically, do you understand what the game has been telling you is the story the entire time? And the final puzzles you have are basically quizzes on like what actually is the truth, what happened in the story, which I love that as a concept. Like, you're doing this puzzle, you're slowly putting everything together, and at the very end it's like, boom, do you understand this game well enough, essentially? It feels very sort of not Papers, Please, Return of the Obra Dinn-esque, right? Where it's like, do you truly understand what's going on? Or, I don't know, I can't think of another game which does that pretty well, to be honest. But it's all about putting the pieces together. I loved that as a concept. Although I think it definitely was hampered by the fact I played this game over like several months, with many, like, oftentimes like weeks in between play sessions, because a lot of times I was like, I don't really remember what the story was. It's really funny because in the last episodes I was like, I don't remember who Renee is, and I was talking about like, I guess she might be the girl in the window, an owl girl, and then literally I was titling the other videos which were recorded in this session, which I recorded 2 weeks before, and I was like, oh, Renee's the owl girl, she's the one in the class. So it's like I deduced it, and then because of the time spent between playing it, I completely forgot about it, and then rediscovered it in the last part, but it was more of a guess in the last play session, which is, this is why I don't say it's a negative thing. That's very much that's my fault. It's just more of a caveat of how I record these videos, often in like sessions, and then there's big backlogs. But yeah, what else did I think was really cool? The vibes are great. I found the characters really engaging, because Lorelei, I was sort of like, what's going on, and learning about her story, and just like, this seems like just someone who's been put through the ringer, essentially. Nero is absolutely insane, and he gives you weird vibes to begin with, as you're just like, oh, he's just a little bit quirky, and then as you learn more about him, you'll go, no, he's a psychopath, essentially, which I thought was a really great discovery. Lorenzo and Renee have always were just sort of like who are these people? And then finding out, I suppose, like, oh, they're not even real, was kind of interesting. But there's a lovely sort of like trippiness, I think, to the game in general, which lends really well to the atmosphere, which is why I say the vibes are so good in the game. The vibes and the atmosphere are fantastic. They're like perfectly, they're just perfect, I suppose, in the game. Like, as I say, the best parts of the game. So yeah, what else do I think is good or bad about Lorelei and Renee's eyes, or what parts did I like or not like? What did I think of a final story in the end? I thought it was fine. Like, I don't think it wasn't quite to the extent where I was like, whoa, I can't believe that's the truth. I was sort of like oh yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. Or like not in a way of like I knew all along, but in a way of like oh, interesting. I think it very much does play well into Nero and his absolute insanity, I suppose, because I think it's a very fun, not fun move, but a fun villain sort of move to write a story which basically is how you wish to die. And, you know, certainly raises some questions about what art, I suppose, is, and reminds me of like a very niche comic I read, which is also a very dark comic. Don't read it necessarily if you want something light. I can't remember what it's called. It's like Puppy Doll comic. It's I genuinely cannot remember. Let's see. Anthro Dog Doll. Is that it? It's this one. What on earth is this doll called? Pinky Cooper. Yes, it's a Pinky Cooper comic. It's a very dark one, but it also has these sort of things of like, what is art? Or made me think about like, what is art, I suppose, in certain ways, and like, are these extreme actions which one can take, should it be counted as art or not? I suppose, or what statement does it make upon the world? Anyway, sorry, we're really big tangent there. What else was really nice in Lorelei's eyes? I think the map was really nice, and the shortcuts opened up, felt quite natural, especially from like having to solve a puzzle to open up a shortcut, felt like it really in flavour of the game. Yeah, I think it's just, but I don't really have many major gripes of it. But I don't think my mind was blown during it, is probably what I say. Like, it's a very solid 8 out of 10 game for me. I was like, this is cool. Like, definitely worth playing as a puzzle enthusiast, I think. There's some choices in it which made me go, huh? Strange. And there's some choices which made me go, whoa, cool. But yeah, I think it's also hampered by the fact that it doesn't quite align with my style of puzzle games. Like, I definitely am, instead of, well, I love escape rooms, but I'm not a really exploration-based puzzle gamer. I'm very much like give me a puzzle, logic-based puzzle gamer. And I'm not saying that those need to be mutually exclusive. Your mileage may vary, which is why I'm like, if you like more exploratory based puzzles, I think you might really like it. But there are a lot of cases where I'm just saying the puzzles in the game I don't think are particularly like challenging. Like not many of them I think are really stumpers. A lot of them are just sort of like, whoa, here's a lock. Oh, here's the clue which is next to it. Do you understand the clue yet? If yes, then yeah, put in the answer. If you don't, then it's probably because you haven't found the literal required information you need. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a game which just, yeah. It's very crazy because if it just had like a cancel button or like a slightly nicer control scheme for like user interface or something, and I'm like, I think it would be a very solid 9 out of 10 despite the fact it was an exploration based puzzle game for me. But yeah, I think that's what I have to say in the matter. I think it's a good game. I would definitely recommend trying it if you like puzzle games, especially because I think it's quite unique in its sphere. But yeah, just go in with the expectation that it's more like an adventure, or not action game, adventure game, if that's what Resident Evil is, and not sort of survival game, with a strong focus on puzzles aspect rather than the survival aspect, I guess. I'm not sure that's a good way to describe it, but I really think the description of it is Resident Evil, but with a strong focus on puzzles instead of horror. Does pretty well. It does have a bit of a spooky vibe, and I will tell you now, but I feel easily spooked. It doesn't really have any scares in it. I cannot even remember a jump scare. But yeah, it's just more like its vibe, so a bit spooky. About what else? Do I have any other comments? I think its music is really nice as well. The songs it has were really nice and wonderful. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a game which has a very specific aesthetic and vibe it's going for, and completely knocks it out of the park. And then all the elements that you're doing are sort of further. Oh, I will also say that the late game door puzzles were also really cool, I would say. Those were some of my favourite puzzles. The perspective-based ones, because I was like, this is interesting. While it's not difficult to work out what to do in it, which, as I say, Lorelei doesn't have very complicated puzzles to work out. It's just more like doing them is like a more kinesthetic part of it in a way. So it's like an interactive puzzle. Anyway, I think that's what I have to say in the matter. I enjoyed the game. That's what I'd say. And yeah, I suppose if you played it as well, feel free to share your thoughts and comments. But otherwise, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been here, darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.